In Iraq at an Al-Qaeda compound. Some extremists are preparing to behead several hostages. Watching them keenly is Marine John Triton, and despite not being cleared to engage, John disobeys and rushes the room, opening fire on the men. He is forced into close combat but easily demolishes the entire squad and frees the hostages. Despite his heroics, John receives the bad news that he is being honorably discharged from the military. He takes a flight back home where he is greeted by his wife Kate, who gives him a warm welcome back. She is excited about having him home and is looking forward to spending more time with him. John, however, finds it difficult to just sit at home and is starting a new job as a security the next day. We then see a criminal named Rome, pulling up to a jewelry store. He heads inside, where his other gang members are already waiting. He pretends to check out the jewelry before attacking the security guard and knocking him out. His friend Bennett pulls his guns, ordering the people to get down. The glass to the back is bulletproof, so Rome grabs a woman, threatening to kill her if the manager does not open up. He opens the doors and the girl suddenly pulls a weapon, revealing to be a part of their gang and Rome's girl Angela. Rome heads to the back and has the manager load a pouch with diamonds. Before he leaves, the manager calls out to him, telling him to hit him, so it looks real for the cops, but Rome instead shoots him dead. The gang then heads outside, where Rome pulls a machine gun and opens fire on the incoming cops. Another member, Morgan, blows up the cop car before they make their escape. After the robbery, the cops are inspecting the scene and suspect that one of the employees was in on the heist. Frank starts his new job as a security for a large company, working the shift with his colleague Joe. Some rich prick then enters the office with his 2 guards and signs in before heading up. While Joe is having a blast, John finds the job to be boring. Joe tells him about the benefits, the pay and having nothing to do and tells him to relax. They then get a call from the 12th floor about a disturbance. Upstairs, the rich prick is attacking his ex-girlfriend and cursing at her, until John and Joe turn up. He tries to insult Joe, so John picks him up and leads him to the ground floor, telling him to leave. Once his guards come around, he gets brave and begins to taunt John, which leads into a brawl. John knocks out the 2 bodyguards before throwing the dude through the building window. John is fired for the attack while Joe is suspended, and the 2 sit and have a chat before he leaves. John expresses his doubts in ever finding a place to fit in outside of the military, but Joe reminds him that the only thing constant in life is change, and he should appreciate being home. With that, John cheers up and decides to head home to see his wife. Rome and Angela are back in their hotel room and she is concerned about the scene they caused at the store. Rome reveals that he killed the manager because he called out his real name, but everything else went according to plan. Joe gives John a ride back home and he heads inside, trying to hide what happened at work, until they see a breaking news about security guards out of control, and him throwing the dude through the window. John apologizes for what happened, but Kate tells him he got into a job too soon. To help him relax, she wants them to take a road trip together and John agrees. The next day, the 2 are on the road excited about what is to come, when John realizes that they need to stop to get gas. Coincidentally, they stop at a gas station where Rome and his gang are filling up, and John heads inside to grab snacks where Angela and Bennett are also grabbing stuff. Rome is filling up the car when suddenly a cop car drives up behind them and the gang begins to get spooked. The young cop starts filling up his tank, then begins to start small talk with Rome. As he talks about the car, Morgan walks up behind him and shoots him in the head. Rome unloads on the other cop as he is trying to flee and shoots him. John hears the commotion but gets knocked out by Bennett when he tries to get to Kate. Angela also shoots the clerk before the gang rush out. They decide to take Angela's car and drag her out. Rome decides to take her hostage and they drag her away just as John is slowly waking up. Before they leave, Morgan shoots at the gas, causing a massive explosion which throws John back. He recovers in time to see the car speeding off with Angela. John races to the cop car, avoiding another explosion and helps the cop out of the car who turns out to still be alive. John jumps behind the wheel, racing off to save his wife. He radios to police command about the injured cops and the hostage, before squeezing every bit of power out of the Camaro. Ahead in the Jeep, Angela is going through Kate's bag and sees that she is married to a Marine and thinks nothing about it, but closing in quickly is John. Bennett and Morgan open fire on his car, spraying it with bullets that need some GPS cause their way off. Rome then tries running John off the road but John is persistent and stays on their tail. John is forced off-road and the top of the car gets ripped off but he does not slow down. Rome then drives to the edge of a cliff and they open fire at him, blinding him and causing John to run over the cliff and the car to crash below. The crew comes out to inspect the scene, and Kate begins screaming at them out of anger. Angela holds her at gunpoint, but Rome stops her, telling them that Kate is their insurance policy. Their car is totaled and their other crewmate Vesera, tells Morgan that he is too trigger happy and they get into a tussle. Rome calms them down and they plan to walk through a swamp in order to get to their location to drop off the diamonds and collect their payment. A detective named Van Buren has turned up at the gas station and learns about the radio transmission the cops received from John. Van Buren then gets a call about the accident and turns up at the scene to see the abandoned van. Suddenly, John emerges from the swamp. He tells the detective about his wife and Van Buren informs him that he cannot give him permission to pursue, but John is not asking for it. Van Buren warns John about how dangerous the guys are, which I think he knows by now, before he runs off to save Kate. The crew is walking through the swamp, when Kate begins to fight off the guys until Bennett grabs her. Morgan then gets fed up with walking through the swamp and he and Vesera get into another altercation. Rome then shoots Vesera, killing him for no goddamn reason. Meanwhile the cops are sweeping the swamp from both air and ground looking for the crew. John is hot on their trail and comes upon the spot where Vesera was killed and picks up his knife before moving on. Rome then gets a call from the man waiting on the diamonds, but decides to double-cross him and keep the diamonds for himself, meaning this was all for nothing. Meanwhile, John is using all his tracking skills to stay on their heels and is gaining on them very fast. He comes to a clearing in the woods and senses danger. A net suddenly springs beneath his feet but John cuts himself free instantly. Just then, a man holds him at gunpoint, accusing John of being a cop. He tries to explain that he is looking for his wife, but another man comes up behind him knocking him out. John wakes up inside a shed tied to a chair, with the two huge guys hurriedly packing up their stash. They think the cops are after them and begin to punch John repeatedly, not believing his story. Since they won't believe him, John lies that he is a cop and that the others are tracking his GPS. The guys begin to freak out and in the confusion, John manages to knock down one guy and break free from the chair. He and the other guy then collide like two freaking semis and begin to brawl, throwing each other around like bulls. John sees an opening and makes a run for it, but now he has lost track of Rome and his wife. Nevertheless he continues on, and somehow gets back on their trail. He comes to the river where he spots Rome and his crew along with Kate, going into an abandoned lodge on the swamp where the gang plans to rest up for the night. As the guys plan to look for a generator, Kate is slowly loosening her bounds. Morgan goes under the lodge and begins working on the generator and gets it going, when suddenly John charges him like an angry bull. The two begin throwing some brutal punches until Morgan manages to smash a bottle over John's head. Before he can attack though, John kills him with a blade. After a while Rome comes out and makes a phone call to his friend, requesting that a car be waiting for him at a marina so he can escape. They need a working boat, so Bennett comes out to try and get a boat started. John ambushes him and the two begin to fight, but John is too strong, throat slams the dude and kills him. He hides Bennett with Morgan underneath the lodge, then comes face to face with Detective Van Buren, who now wants to take over the chase after John did all the work. John insists on seeing this through and the detective agrees. The lights go out inside the lodge and Kate uses the chance to make a run for it. She is chased and cornered by Angela and the two begin to swing at each other until Angela pulls a gun. John comes barging into the lodge but is held at gunpoint by Rome. Van Buren then comes in holding a gun to Rome and forcing him to lower his gun. Van Buren suddenly turns his gun on John instead, revealing that he was the one Rome double-crossed. Van Buren demands the diamonds from Rome, who in turn tells the cop to shoot John to get 50% of the diamonds. Van Buren hesitates so John rushes him and uses him as a shield as Rome shoots at him. John is forced to run for cover as Rome makes his escape. Only he and Angela are left and before running off with Kate, Rome shoots the gas cylinders under the lodge but John manages to escape before the building blows apart. Rome then stuffs Kate in the trunk of Van Buren's car before they make their escape. John comes out of the water, when a Coast Guard orders him out and tries arresting him. But John turns the tables, takes his gun and steals his boat to give chase. Rome realizes that they must get rid of Van Buren's car, so he has Angela stop a semi on the road and use her charm to get close and kill the driver. John is in the cop boat when he hears the report over the radio of the slain truck driver and the location of the stolen truck. By nightfall, John gets to the marina as he overheard Rome talking and sees the truck. Kate spots him and causes a distraction so they don't see John, who manages to run up and launch himself onto the truck. John manages to throw Angela from the truck causing her to get crushed by a bus. Rome tries to shoot John but Kate knocks the gun loose. Rome tries knocking John off the truck by driving through some shacks, but John manages to tank the blows before finally being thrown off. The truck smashes into a building which causes a massive explosion and Rome bails from the truck leaving Kate handcuffed inside. John takes off sprinting after the truck, which smashes through a building and into the river. John gets ambushed by Rome who begins beating him down. John recovers and the two begin to fight until a building comes crashing down on John. Rome uses the chance to try and end him and grabs a sledgehammer and smashes it into John's ribs. He then picks up a chainsaw and John barely manages to deflect the incoming strike. Rome begins to taunt John about his wife, so John gathers his strength, disarms Rome and begins to beat his ass and sends him flying, before diving into the river after his wife. He swims to the truck only to see Kate unconscious and still handcuffed. John breaks her free and brings her to the surface, desperately trying to get her breathing again. Finally, Kate begins to cough and the two embrace. Suddenly, Rome tries to attack John with a chain, but John throws him and breaks his neck mid-air, finally killing him. The couple then hugs as the cops close in. Remember to turn on notifications, so you can watch more movie recaps like this. Thanks for watching.